What if they saved this episode by ending it with Brook writing a letter to Princess Celestia? Today I learned an important lesson in friendship, yo-ho-ho-ho. It's not nice to pee on your friends, especially if they're carrying you to the bathroom, yo-ho-ho-ho-ho. Also, may I see your panties, Princess Celestia?
She is a horse. Why would she wear panties?
Welcome to our scariest season. The dead are here, they don't listen to reason. The Straw Hats arrive on the spookiest island. Zombies are dancing and spirits are flying.
Watch out! There's an invisible beast!
Watch out, the secrets go so deep.
The feeling in your throat is a worried scream. Could this nightmare be more than a dream? I'll try to keep our wits about us. Skeletons and samurai, what's the fuss?
Watch out! They're gonna come for your soul!
Watch out, they've got a demon on call.
Let's all hope that we survive as we travel on through Season 5. Did you hear that sound? We gotta go, 'cause now it's time for us to start the show!
Season 5 King of the What now?
Hello, fellow adventurers of the Grand Line, and welcome to episode 95 of King of the What Now?
Joel, did you say 95?
95.
That's exciting. We're only 5 more episodes away from the magic number, 69.
Nice. Hello, and this is King of the What Now? It's a One Piece podcast, reviewing One Piece from the very beginning, and sometimes maybe a little pre-cure as a treat. And I'm your host, Joel, longtime fan of One Piece, newbie to pre-cure, and today I am Cure Twinkle, and I dream of becoming a fashion model.
You know, that has nothing to do with One Piece, but I'm delighted by it.
I just have to be real honest here. These stretch of episodes, I don't know how we're going to get a full episode out of them, but I will try my best.
We'll do our best. That's fair. Well, I'm Kat, and it's time to cure up Rapapapa because I am cure magical, and I didn't fall. That was a purposeful, strategic landing onto the podcast.
Yeah, and that was an intentional structure of words in a sentence such that it made a word sentence.
Exactly. I didn't stumble over my words. We are currently watching... We are currently watching Go Princess Precure and Witchy Precure, and let me tell you, those are both really good shows, and we'll get into them in chatting with the hosts.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's time for chatting with the hosts. All we're missing is the official let's start the chatting with the hosts so that future editor Joel can figure out where to put the timestamps.
Oh, okay. So I'm a host and you're a host. We're both here. Let's chat.
Yes. We're both singular hosts. Neither of us are 3 goblins in a trench coat.
Why are we being so weird in this episode?
Folks, it's been a little while since we've been at the mic, and I'm feeling kind of anxious, but also kind of pumped up, like, at the same time. Which was that? That was Anna from Frozen, who had the nervous and whatever, and you're kind of gassy or whatever. That's me, at all times of all days.
Especially the gassy part.
That was what I was referring to. Yes. I'm ready and loaded with plenty of Diet Coke and Taco Bell, and on today's episode, Joel is going to do a dance.
So, Joel, what have you been reading, watching, listening to lately?
Oh my gosh, quite a bit, actually. You know, I picked up drawing again after a long hiatus. I didn't look at the date of the last one, but I think it was something like 2 months ago that I was doing that. And you know, if I don't practice, I'm not going to get any better. So right now, I'm really getting back into it, and I'm trying to draw a lot of the new characters from the different Precure seasons. And speaking of Precure, like you mentioned earlier, we've been watching 2 different series. We've been watching Witchy Precure, and we've been watching Go Princess Precure. Which would you like me to describe?
You do Princess, and I'll do Witchy,
okay,
since those were our individual picks.
Our picks, yes. Now, the reason that I picked Go Princess, despite knowing very little about Precure, is because a long time ago I did a thread of all the different cures, and I picked randomly which one, well, not randomly, I picked which one I liked best without having seen them in action. So it wasn't about their personality, it was about their accessories, and maybe if their picture on the wiki had them using, like, their attack, you know, maybe I would take that into account. And the best Precure from all of the seasons design-wise is from Princess Precure. So we're watching that. It's great. There's 3 very good girls who all go to like a prestigious academy where
The Noble Academy.
The Noble Academy, where many of the world's leaders, such as business people and whatnot, go. And the main girl wants to go because her dream is to become a princess, which in the context of a previous show is fine. In the context of reality, I have some questions because it's not like a job.
Here's the thing. As soon as she said that was her goal, I went, oh yeah, Joel had a friend in high school who I could see that being her real life ambition.
But my friend didn't necessarily, like, it's not... I understand you need to believe in yourself, but come on! Being an astronaut is a 1 in a million chance, but it's a 1 in a million chance. My dream of becoming a princess, or your dream of becoming a princess, much smaller, much...
What if she doesn't need to literally be a princess? What if she wants to embody the same ideals that she got from these princess stories?
You know what? Maybe. But anyways, the show is great. There's 3 characters. I love all of them. I love the way they interact with each other. The bad guys are perfect dorks. I really like them. And so I would recommend checking it out.
Mm-hmm. And like Joel said, we've also been watching Witchy Precure, which only seems to have 2 members on the team.
Yes.
Curious. That's a very small team for the Precure seasons that we've been watching so far. Joel, you're making a face. I don't understand why.
What are you insinuating? Like,
I'm just saying, like, it's a small team.
Yeah, it's a small team, a little bit more intimate than a larger team might be.
They might hold hands a little bit. There might be a explicit tightening of their hands sound when they use their attack. You know.
Yeah.
But no, I really like this season. First of all, it is themed around literally being a magical girl and having magic spells, but also magic gems. And for every magic gem they get a different transformation. Joel, I don't know about you, but I like this show because of the beautiful dresses. And to get 19 different dresses, that's going to be rad as heck.
Now, I really don't think it's 12 dresses. I think that only 4 of them give them form changes.
Oh, you think so?
I'm almost positive. But they do get different dresses. We're only 7 episodes in as of this recording, and we've already seen 2 of them. And fire powers are always best. They literally slide across the screen after they finish transforming, and fire erupts behind them, and then they strike a pose, and they, say with maximum passion, I think is their catchphrase. The fairy, who is usually this annoying sidekick in many of the seasons I've seen, is a sentient teddy bear who is adorable. That's another thing that Go Princess also does pretty well. They have 2, and the bird's a little bit closer to the annoying side, but the dog named Pafu, I believe, she trips on her hair.
Oh, you're talking about Princess again. I thought you were talking about Witchy.
No, yeah.
I got lost.
The 2 that are from Go, I don't like one of them as much. They're pretty cute. I like them, but they're a little annoying. But the dog character is so good. She trips on her ears, and she has more personality. The currently airing season of Healing Good has a dog fairy that does not talk except for very specific times when it says, hey, there's bad guys that way, where you see the giant explosions and such, and her voice is small and annoying like a child, and I'm not here for that.
Pafu is cute as heck.
Pafu is adorable, and they give her different hairstyles in different episodes, and I really like it.
Witchy has a teddy bear who I'm kind of lukewarm but toward the liking side on. Usually the fairies aren't the draw of this for me. The cutesy child character is never my favorite in anything. They also have a baby fairy that they summon out of a smartphone looking thing.
Yeah, what was it called? The witch phone or something? It was called something ridiculous.
It was ridiculous. It was a Buy Our Toys product, but it was pretty cute. They can draw her food, so they make her this cup of sky blue soup, and it's got little clouds in it. So I'm looking forward to where that goes, because the fairy seems to be growing up as they feed it more.
Yeah, well, and we've seen it in the intro in different forms, unless there's a second fairy, but I'm pretty sure that that's what's going to happen. Maybe it'll be the secret cure. I don't know. I've only ever seen 2 cures from the show whenever I see them in another form of media, but
yeah, strongly recommend both seasons.
Yes. We also had an adorable transforming Nukky girl playing baseball, and some other episodes about some other stuff, maybe racism or something. I'm not sure.
Some other stuff happened. There was a wolf man.
Okay, but what show are we referring to?
Brand New Animal.
Yeah, absolutely.
It had the best theme song of 2020.
It's pretty freaking good. I do like it a lot. Why don't you talk about its pros and cons, I guess?
Sure. So this is something I've heard. I haven't seen enough Trigger shows all the way to the end to know if this is true or if it's just a thing that like some crabby people on the internet say. But supposedly Trigger shows always go off the rails near the end, and the ending is always weaker than people want it to be.
Okay.
And I feel like Brand New Animal kind of had that. Like, it pulled a lot of ideas out of nowhere at the very end, but the climax of the season was so cool that I don't care, which is my feeling about all Trigger stuff. Like, Trigger is bright colors and explosion and punching and music and good catchphrases, and that's sometimes all that I want.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was just going to say, I liked that this show, despite having a female main character, like, it didn't do the overly sexual thing. It just let her, like, explore the world and be a normal person.
Never once did we see her in a changing room. Never once did someone come in on her when her top was off. Nothing like that.
No Hot Springs episode.
No Hot Springs episode. I really like her character for what it is. Sometimes I will admit that there will be character designs in anime where I'm like, oh, that character is cute. And what I basically mean is the character's personality or arc isn't really to my liking, but they are good to look at, and I like them, and I would like to draw them. But with this character, I don't even remember her name anymore.
Michiru.
Michiru is adorable, not necessarily because of how she looks, although she's cute, but her mannerisms and whatever, like, I really do like her as a character. I really do buy that she's kind of this mix of naive, but also pretty clever in different aspects, and she's just really good. And she's balanced really well against Shiro, who is a wolfman who has a really good sense of smell. A sense of smell so good he can actually, like, rewind time in his mind's eye by smelling things and figure out who was where at what point. And he's just, they balance off of each other really well. He's the, you need to take this more seriously cut type, and in certain cases, I think she does. But she's also the, lighten up, it'll be fine type, and that also encourages his growth in different ways.
Yeah, well, and they play off of each other really well without ever falling into the trap so many shows do, where it's like, we've got a male character and a female character, so I guess they're gonna kiss. Like, their friendship is very beautiful, and there's no, like, extraneous romance to muddle that.
No, not even like
She's too much of a lesbian.
I mean, that is true. If you are looking for representation, the show doesn't have it explicitly, but it's coded there pretty strongly. Now, from what I've heard of Trigger is they do that quite a bit, and they tease it, but they never actually go through with it. So we'll have to see how season 2 goes. Because in season 1, the two childhood friends have a bit of a strained relationship until they reconcile a little bit later. So I'm curious where it goes, but everyone I've talked to has been like, yeah, I get the strong vibes that they very much so have feelings for each other, and they both kind of take it as a given that the other one reciprocates and knows about the feelings.
Well, and we even ran into that issue with translation localization a little bit, where the subtitles or the English version of a scene where she was talking about this other female character, they translated it into English in such a way that it seemed like she was talking about the male character.
Yeah, Shiro that we're talking about earlier, yeah.
So that's an interesting point. One of these days I'm going to have to learn Japanese so that I know what the anime is saying and I don't have to rely on subs. But no, it was a great show. It was really solid. We watched it in Japanese, but it's available in English, so go on Netflix and give it a try. Yes. Of the 2 furry anime that came out this year, I liked this one better visually. I think the story of Beastars maybe was a little stronger.
I'm going to have to disagree with you.
I'm not saying more enjoyable, just stronger. Like, I think that it didn't meander quite as much.
Yeah, I suppose I could see that. I do think that the pace moves along pretty briskly in Brand New Animal, but I understand that the first several episodes feel like slice of life, and they kind of are, because it's new girl in a new city, and usually everything ends up tying back to the big plot arc, but not every episode feels like a major step in that direction.
I will also say that, as with a lot of things that try to be racism allegories, it's not really a great allegory for racism. And so if you go into it like they're going to tackle the very serious issue of racism, you might be a little disappointed, right? Anytime they try to do the animals versus people as a racism thing, there's always an element of, yeah, these people are treated badly, but they actually deserve it because they could eat you. which is not real of real life racism.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's great, and I highly recommend it. We've also been watching
God of High School. It only has 2 episodes out right now. By the time this episode airs, I think it's going to have like 4 or 5. Now, I have a bit of a gripe with it, like a very small one. I don't want to get into that. Do you like Kung Fu? Do you like high-paced action? Watch just the first episode of God of High School. The main character is one of those really stupid, except for in the field of battle, then they're an expert or whatever, and the story seems kind of maybe like it might be a little cliche, but the fight scenes alone sell me. Like, it doesn't matter if the story is good or if the voice acting is good or whatever. They aren't bad, but the thing that you watch it for is for the fight scene, and it's a tournament arc. Like, the entire show is one tournament arc. That's what the God of High School is. I got really confused when I heard the title God of High School like a couple of months ago, because it really sounds like someone who's really popular in their high school, and I was like, that doesn't really sound like it's for me. And someone was like, no. Martial artists beating the shit out of each other. Winner gets to become God of High School. Hell yeah, I want to see this! So anyways, watch that show. It's doing some interesting stuff, and I'd like to see where it goes. But, like I said, I do have a very small gripe in that the first episode ended on a cliffhanger. How are they going to defeat this martial artist? And then episode 2 starts several hours later with the fight having been concluded, and they don't really talk about it, and you're just supposed to fill in the gaps on your own, and I didn't like that.
So I haven't read the manhwa, so if it's different in the manhwa, if they do explain it, please let me know, but...
Really quick, manhwa in this term is not, we're not saying manga wrong, it is a Korean comic, which is known as a manhwa, as opposed to a manga, which is from Japan.
Thank you, Joel.
You didn't mishear my wife.
But anyway, I suspect what they're doing is he has some, like, really cool final attack or fighting style or something that they didn't want us to see at that moment, so they just skipped ahead. But also, yeah, it would be kind of cool to see the...
I've got an idea, asshole. If you're gonna have this really cool, like, guy show up who's like, I'm so strong, the other 3 are gonna have to team up in order to defeat me, and you want to save that team up for later, you don't have that guy show up at that point in the story, stupid. And no, it's a great show. Watch it for the choreography, and I'm sure there's a reason that they cut it, but it was really weird.
It was jarring for a second. You had to go back and be like, are we on the right episode?
Yeah, did we skip episode 2? Is this episode 3, actually?
I gotta say, I usually am not a fan of the battle part of Shonen Battle. That's not why I watch those shows. But wow, is this show cool. All of the different characters have their own unique fighting styles, which is awesome. I love when the way a character fights represents kind of like who they are. There seems to be some cool magic stuff happening, but it's in the background, so we have to figure it out as we go. There's political intrigue, and the humor in this show is so good. Like, the first episode had me laughing out loud immediately.
Oh my gosh. I don't know about immediately, but yeah, I'm going to spoil one small joke, and this isn't like the draw of the episode, but this guy showed up, I alluded to him. He's very strong, and he's strong enough that all the other combatants aren't going to be able to fight him one-on-one. He's at like a 20% handicap or something like that. 20% of his strength. And he's fighting one character, and the doofy main character guy is suddenly like, hey, you let your guard down. And the camera zooms out, and the bad guy, the antagonist's pants are down around his ankles. He's been pantsed by the main character, whose name is, I think it's Jin? But anyways, and... the antagonist guy has cute animals on his boxers that he's wearing. And he says something like, Jin, the main character, not the antagonist, goes, oh, you're into cute things. And the guy goes, it's not about the cuteness, it's about the strength of character. And he turns around, he's got a giant elephant right on the crotch of the boxers. And there's just something so good about it.
It really is excellent. Or like, the main character is one of those kind of an idiot but heart of gold protagonists.
Yeah.
So there's a scene of him, like, seeing someone distressed, and he comes up with this whole explanation for why they're distressed, and he goes, oh god, that's terrible, I have to help, regardless of whether it's true or not, and he believes it so intently. I love it. It also does not seem to be doing that thing that's very popular in manga right now, where it's like, everyone in this world is special, but main character not special, but main character's still best someday. Like, this main character, right off the bat, he's a strong dude, he's good at fighting. Awesome, let's go. would recommend it.
For sure. There's a female character, and there is, like, one scene of slight, like, are they going to sexualize these characters? But she seems to have her own agency, her own whatever. She doesn't want to, like, meet a man so that she can be his wife or something like that. Like, she seems to have her own drive. She's a swords fighter and that sort of thing. And, yeah, so I would recommend the series. But I would say it's possible if they do more weird stuff, like I didn't like how they went from 1 to 2, I might like it a little less.
One last quick note. This is a Korean comic, as we said. It was published on Webtoons, just like Tower of God. We're getting more and more anime out of there. That's cool. But it's a Korean manga, or manhwa. It's set in Korea. The characters are all Korean. But this is a Crunchyroll original anime, and they chose to do all of the dubbing with Japanese voice actors. And, like, maybe they just did that because it's an anime, so the people should be Japanese. But I think it would be kind of cool to get our first Korean anime. Like, I would have done it with Korean voices if I were magically in charge.
Yeah, well, and I mean, I guess if you ask the company, there's probably a lot of different factors, and I'm sure that one defense could be baby steps. Like, these are the first couple of times that we've gotten, like, really big spotlights on manhwas, I believe. I could be wrong. I'm not an expert on history. And so maybe just the fact that it's getting adapted into an animation at all is like step 1, and maybe step 2 is getting the actors. But I agree that without knowing more details, that seems weird to me.
Well, and honestly, as a Westerner who speaks English, I'm watching it in another language anyway. I don't care if it's Japanese or Korean. Just make it Korean. Why not?
Yeah. And all right, that's going to wrap up our Chatting with the Host segment. If we have anything else that we want to talk about, we're going to have to save it, because this is run a little long, and so let's get back into One Piece.
Fun!
So we just finished watching, well, we didn't just finish watching, Peek Behind the Curtains again. We let ourselves slip, and we did not record right after watching these, but I think we have a firm enough grasp on these episodes so that we'll be able to talk about them.
You should have let Chatting with the Host go longer, because we're going to have, like, just nothing to say.
A whole hour of Chatting with the Host.
I'm reading Dragon Riders of Pern, it's good.
Here's the things that we watched a bunch of different things that were all separate, so we're going to have to tackle this in chunks. We watched episodes 382, 383, and 384 of the anime. That was 2 episodes of filler in one chunk, and then 1 episode of filler in a second chunk. Then we also watched the One Pants. We've done that before. The One Piece Romance Dawn story, which is a special episode of the one-shot that came out before One Piece was in serialization, with a slight twist in that it has some characters from One Piece that weren't in the original, or that sort of thing. And then lastly, we watched episode 9, episode of Chopper. Did I say episode 9? We watched movie 9, episode of Chopper.
A New Hope.
Yeah.
Rise of Skywalker.
Oh man, Reloaded. This is a retelling of the Drum Island story, except no Vivi, but Robin and Chopper, or Robin and Franky are there, and they're on the Thousand Sunny, not the Going Merry. So, and Luffy has Gear Second, so I have no idea how this works. I guess what probably it is they just left Water 7, and now they have run into Drum Island before they got to Thriller Bark. But also Zoro still has all 3 of his swords. Probably it doesn't really matter. But whatever. Those are all the things that we've watched. Catherine, how did you like this mismatch of content?
Okay. So Foxy was back.
Do we want to just tackle those 2 episodes, the Spa Island, first?
That was my plan.
Okay.
So Foxy was back, which I was very excited about when I learned. I went, wow, we're going to get more Foxy episodes? But no. Foxy is not the focus of these episodes. He's there.
He got you, you're like, oh my god, Foxy, he's pretty interesting. And then they went, yoink, and they gave us something less interesting.
He doesn't even do much. He's just sort of there for like a scene, and then it's nothing. So I wasn't overly impressed with the Spa Island episodes. I did like the backstory of the girls with the scientist dad who was so invested in his research and like saving his island that he couldn't really be there as a dad.
And unfortunately, he couldn't even be there as a name either. He's just the dad.
That's fine. But no, I thought that was a really interesting story. I like how you have the sisters, and one of them really believes in her dad and his dream, and the other one is like, well, he should have been there as our dad, so kind of screw him. Mm-hmm. And at the end, they come together, and they realize that his dream was important, and they discover the solution of his research.
Maybe deadbeat dad, not so deadbeat.
So that was pretty cool. But overall, meh. Did you like the Spa Island arc?
You know what, honestly, was like the two things that I loved the most about it?
We didn't do a succinct summary.
That was the succinct summary. They went to a spa island and okay. Succinct summary for the Spa Island episodes. Luffy and crew go to a spa island. There's supposedly a treasure there. Foxy's looking for the treasure. And then they blow up the island, and the treasure was underneath the spa island. And there were two girls who were looking for the treasure, and they found the treasure.
It was a specific pattern of rainbow colors.
Yes, exactly. They needed to know what order to mix these chemicals in order to be able to just mass produce infinite money. Rainbow gems that you could probably sell for money. And there's a guy who works at the spa who wants the secret recipe because he's a Saturday morning cartoon villain. He teams up with Foxy. Foxy quickly loses. And they eventually blow up the island, and it turns out the secret they were looking for was under the island, so they had to blow it up anyways. That was your succinct summary.
Thank you. So what were the two things?
Do I have a second thing? The first thing is that the younger girl has a C to Nukky.
Love him.
He's adorable and amazing.
MVP of the mini arc.
Yeah, he can shapeshift, but he retains the size. So at one point, I think he turns into Nami for Sanji, but it's like fit in the palm of his hand size Nami, and I mean, we've already ventured into weird, kinky territory.
Well, and it's funny, too, because it's, like, making seductive noises and posing, but then it zooms out and it's tiny, and Sanji's like, not like this!
It's so funny. Well, if we had just watched these episodes, I'm sure there are other transformation gags, but it was just, like, a cute creature. It was just like, heck yeah, I really enjoy that. I think that's it, though. I think the other thing that I kind of like was there was some dialogue at the beginning of the episode where the evil guy who is pretending just to be a regular waiter or whatever is just like, I won't tell anyone about pirates. And Robin's like, oh, thank you for your discretion. And just, there was something about it that was just like, oh, okay. They're like kind of acknowledging that, they're not, they're neutral, which might come into play in a later One Piece movie.
I was literally just about to mention that movie, but no need. So, that was Spa Island. What did you think about the Brook episode? Succinct summarize that for me.
Jesus, we're already moving on? Foxy had a giant Foxy head that he could get in so that he could shoot his slow beams and they would go in every which direction.
That was cool.
That was pretty cool. What did they end up doing? Did they just smash it? Did Luffy just punch it?
I believe so.
Okay, even though they were all being slowed down and stuff.
Something like that.
Okay.
I think they redirected something so that it hit the something.
I will say, one of the scenes I do remember is at some point they eventually decide, like, oh, this island's attacking us, time for us to go wild, and it's just all of the Straw Hats just destroying the island. Like, Sanji's kicking stuff, Chopper's doctoring, Luffy's punching in every which direction. It was just like, all right, guys, go ape shit.
That was pretty good.
I did like that. And in the end, I will say, in case you're worried about the arc about the father without a name, the young girl didn't like her dad because he left the family, and oh, boo-hoo, your dad should watch after the family. Whereas the mom, killed in some flashback too interesting for these episodes. But it turns out the reason that the dad ran away was not because he valued science more than his daughters. It's because the bad guys who are after his secret formula in order to make the Kentucky Fried Chicken, they would attack his daughters if they thought the daughters were involved. So instead, he basically made them chase him, and then they made the gems. Also, it rains bubblegum at the very beginning of the episode. Candy, yeah. And you might think that that's random, except at the end of the episode, the two girls, thankful for Luffy's help, gives him this gem that Nami's like, wow, that could sell for a lot. But then it rains candy again, and Luffy drops it, and he goes, oops, and then that's why they don't canonically have more money than they have.
Whoops.
Whoopsie.
Now we can do the Brook episode.
You know what we should have talked about in chatting with the hosts? We should have mentioned Super Bunny Man. We should have mentioned... We also should should have mentioned that we're a little bit more active on Discord now, and that we don't really have it locked behind Patreon or anything like that.
I was going to mention that on Chatting with the Hosts, or not Chatting with the Hosts, on Thoughts from the Crew.
Let's circle back to that. Okay. Catherine, how did you like the Brook episode?
You know, it wasn't as terrible as you led me to believe it would be.
Oh, are you
but
sure?
It was still not the best.
God, it's bad.
Well,
It's just...
he peed his pants while Zoro was carrying him, so...
And he ruined Chopper's medicine, and he blew up Usopp's invention, and he f***ed with Nami's maps. Like, this is not a good episode. There is one saving grace, and I think you and I both know what it is.
I was gonna say, but there was a cute scene with him and Robin, where
Yes.
Robin told him to just let things happen organically.
Fucking chill, Bone Man.
Can I please put that on a shirt for you with like the Cotwin logo on the back? We can put it in our merch store that we definitely have.
Do you like that, or do you like calm down, Skeleman? I think if we made that rhyme, it would be a good one, but anyways.
What about chill out, bone guy? You can vote for these 3 shirt ideas on patreon.com/
Calm your bones. Okay, so the succinct summary of this episode, which we also skipped, thanks, Catherine, was...
Wow. I come on this podcast for you. I'm not even looking at my phone, and this is how you treat me.
So you admit that you look at your phone during the podcast sometimes. Okay. Brook is now on the crew, and he's like, you know what? I'm gonna help everyone. I'm gonna put in maximum effort, Deadpool style. The only problem is that he's so eager that he messes everything up. I think I listed off most of the things that he does. He also helps with trying to clean the kitchen at one point, but he gets soap everywhere and he almost drops all the plates. And
he sees Nami making a map, and he's like, oh, is this your precious map? And she goes, yeah, this is my dream. And then he accidentally spills water on it, and when he tries to clean it up, he, rubs the ink off the map.
Listen, I can't deal with shows that are purposely funny because it's so awkward for everyone. I've tried to watch Arrested Development 4 times. It's not a show for me. If you like it, that's fine.
I like it.
But this episode is everything that I hate in a lot of sitcoms in one episode with characters that I usually like. And it just makes me want to claw the wall off of my house.
At the same time, though, it's so relatable, isn't it? Because,
No.
You've never been in a new group and, desperately been trying to find a way to fit in.
Sorry, let me rephrase that. Yes, it does feel familiar, and it feels shitty. And I haven't had someone who's like the hot MILF aunt be like, hey, you should just calm down.
Babe,
Yeah?
I'll be your hot MILF aunt. Is that weird? I made it weird. Let's keep talking about Brook.
Okay, but at the end of the episode, after Brook has kind of messed up a bunch of things, Robin is like, dude, it's fine. I also didn't really feel comfortable with the crew at first, but then eventually I learned that they're really good people and that I should just do what I can. And so Brook goes, oh, okay. And then he sings a song and everyone really likes the song. So that is that episode.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Did you have any joke or anything you liked from that episode other than the Robin stuff?
No, really, it is just the Robin stuff. I do, on a conceptual level, like the idea of Brook being like, I'm going to pee my pants, and Zoro being like, but you're a skeleton. The but you're a skeleton, though, kind of almost saves it, but it's still a man who's too incompetent to know when he has to use the bathroom.
Also, I like the joke a lot of character A is trying to meditate, and character B goes, oh yes, meditating, making your soul at one with your body and being at peace. I'll join you. When you meditate, it's important to be very quiet. And they just don't stop talking. That joke is hilarious. But then they ruined it with pee jokes.
Yeah.
No
not
more
our
pee
favorites. Okay. Which of these 2 other ones do you want to talk about?
Let's get the Chopper movie out of the way.
Okay. Your succinct summary. This one really does not need a succinct summary. You saw Drum Kingdom. It's Drum Kingdom again, except this time, like I said, they have Robin and Franky and the Thousand Sunny.
And a bonus antagonist.
And hang on a second. I'm
Okay.
talking about the things that they have. They don't have Vivi on their crew this time. And also, Wapple apparently had an older brother who ate the mushroom fruit or the spore fruit. And apparently if he combines his spores with a bomb, he can spread the spores further. He's basically going to commit a genocide, and it's really sad.
Once every 7 years, he can do a really big spore explosion that kills everyone.
Right, yeah. So he wants to go to the top of the mountain, use this explosion, and kill everyone, and that's it. Did you feel that the visuals were upgraded significantly?
Maybe a little, but not really. Like, I noticed more CGI, but it was just really noticeable CGI.
Yeah.
I did notice some of the fight scenes reminded me a lot of, I think it was movie 6, Baron o Matsuri.
Yes.
Which is one of my favorite One Piece movies just for the unique animation style. I wish they played around with that a little bit more. So that was cool. Otherwise, no, it didn't really stand out to me as better.
Yeah, they, let's see, the Lopin stuff was basically the same as before. You have Sanji sacrificing himself and Luffy doing the heroic climb up the mountain. You got some great Hiyaaaah moment. Hiyaaaah? What's wrong with me today? I can't say his name. But anyways, we got Chopper's dad. All of that was good. But I mean, we also, now that we've officially seen the Blackbeard crew, we also got to see them at the beginning of the movie attacking Drum Kingdom, which was foreshadowed back when we originally got to these episodes, but I don't think Oda wanted to show us what Blackbeard looked like. And so that's about that. What did Franky or Robin add to these episodes?
Nothing.
Yeah.
They didn't really play starring roles. In the original version of the arc, Zoro was kind of off on his own doing things the whole time, and it felt like they were just with Zoro.
Yeah, well, no, Robin stayed with Usopp specifically, but, like, Usopp didn't have major play in that episode, and in the movie, Robin didn't have major play. She didn't use her powers to do anything in particular, and also, Franky and Zoro got in a snowmobile, but, like, to not really any kind of end. And so, yeah, it was a huge, like, nothing movie. I understand wanting to go back and reanimate old arcs with, like, new animation. That's awesome. I applaud that. But at the same time, Drum Kingdom is not really anything special to me except for the Hero Luck flashback. That was weird.
Are you having an okay time? Is
I
your
do
brain
not smell
like
toast.
glitching?
Yeah, I don't know. The Matrix is the Matrix. Okay, the other thing, I did like Luffy going gear second and being able to use that power, but I don't really remember anything particularly memorable about the scene other than him just being like, I'm gonna go all out, and then just decking this weird older brother guy.
You know what was most memorable for me about this movie?
Okay.
It was not something in the movie. The first time we tried to watch it, I looked over halfway through and you were literally asleep.
Not because of how boring the movie is. The movie was pretty boring. I'm not the sort of person who would literally fall asleep due to boredom. But yes, if I am very tired and we're watching something, I will fall asleep. I once fell asleep during JoJo's, as the stone of Aja was being stolen by, I want to say cars, but I don't think so. And then when I opened my eyes, they got the stone back. I'd gone through the entire death of a character. I'd gone through the revenge plot. I'd gone through the whole character returns that you didn't think was going to return. And I was like,
wow.
Oh man, I fell asleep.
One time I opened my eyes and you went, baby, you were asleep. And I said, no, I wasn't. I was just blinking. And then I pressed play on Parks and Rec and I went, this is a different episode than I was on. I was really concerned. And you went, yeah, you fell asleep.
It's hard. When you fall asleep, it's hard to know that you're falling asleep sometimes. Sometimes you really do think, I'm just going to close my eyes. But for me, in that instance, it was very easy to tell because you were snoring, not something that you typically do while you're awake. Maybe there might be some wakeful snorers out there, and I think that all snoring types are beautiful, but you are not one of those sorts of people. It's 2020, normalize different types of snoring.
Okay. Back to the movie.
Back to the movie.
You know what's funny?
Yeah?
We usually do, or this season, we've been doing, any new information or reveals, favorite quotes, favorite moments. We've got none of that for these episodes.
I have one hypothetical question. It's a really dumb question, but let's see if it can generate some interesting conversation. So in this movie, like I said, the major differences are we got a couple of different Straw Hats, we're missing Vivi, and also this new older brother whose name was Amaduke, I think?
Mushroom.
What?
His name was Mushroom.
Oh, was it really?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Named that way before he got the mushroom powers?
The Amadake was the mushroom that Chopper fed Hiyaaaah.
Okay, see, this is why we should record shortly after watching the episodes.
It's a good thing you have a wife who is so smart and articulate.
Absolutely, and beautiful and stunning and all that. But I'll be damned if I'm rewatching these episodes. Like, I know the right thing to do would be to go back and rewatch the episodes and then record shortly after. I do not have time. You asked me at the beginning of the Thriller Bark episodes if the COVID madness had set in. It wasn't at the time, but it's definitely setting in now. And it's not just COVID madness, it's COVID depression. And it's COVID forgetfulness. And it's a bunch of different things. I'm not watching these episodes. You can't make me.
You know, when I started, or you, I guess, when you started this podcast, I asked you, do you really have to watch all the filler? Could you just skip the filler and do the real stuff? And you went, no, it's my pride as a One Piece fan. We're doing all the filler.
Yeah.
So now we're stuck doing Pee Pants episodes.
That's not what this movie is about. There was no mention of that incident during this particular movie. Okay, so they introduced a new character, Mushroom, who I don't think counts as canon, but let's just pretend that this movie somehow... It couldn't count as canon, but let's just say, hypothetically, that Mushroom does exist in the One Piece world, and this is how he kind of got like a backdoor pilot into the One Piece. What other character that you've met would you give a brother to inexplicably in the next movie if they were to show up?
I mean, Foxy's older, handsomer brother would be kind of awesome.
Who just bullied Foxy mercilessly?
He's more capable than Foxy in every way, and Foxy begs the Straw Hats to team up with him so they can take out his dick of an older brother.
Oh my god.
The Straw Hats only agree because the older brother won, like, Nami or something away in a Davy back fight. He also, in this hypothetical scenario, would have won Portia and Hamburg away from Foxy.
Oh no, that's awful. I really do like that. I also really enjoy, I like the idea that someone has to give Foxy a pep talk, and that makes him stronger, and then at the end of the episode he's like, oh, I've overcome it, but then if this was maybe perhaps filler, they'd still just call him a split head, and he just collapses, and like, he's just immediately back to ground zero. All that work that they did could just be undone by a single insult.
Oh, I love it. Foxy says, pee, 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 but his brother says, kick, 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 kick.
Yeah, he's very handsome. Like, you even get like a moment of like Sanji getting jealous of his looks, or maybe Robin being like, oh, he's cute. I'm slightly hesitant because I don't know if I've ever seen Robin compliment a person for being cute. Like, she'll compliment like something a child's doing or like an animal or something, but I don't know if she would call a man cute. But I would love it if one of the women on the crew was just like, wow, this guy's really, really hot.
He's like being all princely to Nami, but she's a lesbian, so she resists his charms. I love the idea of Luffy seeing him and going, who's that really attractive guy? And Foxy just like deflating. That's my asshole older brother. Why is he so much hotter than you? Damn it, Luffy.
Okay, so if you were a writer, what new dimension of Foxy would this add? Would this add a level of sympathy to him insofar as like, oh, I get why he's kind of the way he is?
Maybe a little bit of that, but it also would just add like, the point of Foxy is that he's kind of a joke.
Okay.
He's still capable in his own right, not against the Straw Hats, obviously, but against most average pirates. But he's just kind of a doofy guy who, like, what's he even doing? And so this would add to that, because it would be like, of course the doofy guy has an older brother who's better in every way.
I do like that. Now, for my pick, initially I was gearing up to do a brother of Kobe type of situation, because I think it'd be interesting if Kobe had an older brother who happened to be a Marine, but he was one of the gross kind of Marines, and he had to, like, defeat him one-on-one or whatever in order to prove, like, the power of Marines. That could add some interesting dimension. But then I realized the perfect answer is right there, and we were fools for not seeing it. What if we gave Garp a brother, a younger brother, who it would be technically Luffy's, would that be an uncle? Granduncle? And he could be like the weird uncle that you only see at like Thanksgiving or whatever. He could be a prisoner at Impel Down. And if there's a prison break, he comes out and he's wearing like mismatched clothes and he's got like long hair and he looks kind of like the stereotypical hippie. He's just like, Luffy, rock on, yeah? But he's monstrously strong. And so he's not like a force that opposes Luffy, but he's another agent of chaos. And neither of them can see eye to eye. And so eventually Luffy has to like rein him in.
I love that. I dig that. You know, it would be a hilarious character to give a brother to.
Okay.
Don Quixote do Flamingo. Just two, chaos boys. What would that be like?
Yeah, I have no idea. Now, Doffy has the power to manipulate people in some kind of like puppet-like way, right? So would his brother also be someone that he puppets? Could his brother be the only person Doffy can't puppet? Like the only one with the counter to that technique?
He has the anti-puppet technique?
Yeah. Or maybe he just has like the wall fruit. He could just erect a barrier through which Doffy's magic juju can't penetrate.
Perfect.
Yeah.
No, you know what I was going to say he had before I remembered Moria?
What's that?
I was going to say he has the shadow fruit, so he can do like shadow puppetry.
Oh, very nice. I do like the idea of there being two brothers who both very obviously hate each other, but are stuck in a power struggle, or maybe they need each other because they're not strong enough, but the moment that one of them gets enough power that they can strike, they'll try to. And I just really like that idea. And I like it especially if they're twins. Like, Luffy and the crew land on an island, and everything around them... I'm kind of stealing the aesthetic from the lovely ice hunters or whatever. But they land on the island, and there's a bunch of red buildings, and this antagonist shows up and fights them, and he has like a very direct fighting style, and he has like really powerful attacks, and like, this guy's really powerful, we gotta regroup or something. And then they leave, and they find themselves in another part of town, and all the buildings there are blue, and the guy shows up again, they're like, oh god, it's this guy, he's super strong, but then he's really fast, and like, what is going on here? And it's not till later that they realize that there's like two jurisdictions, and they're getting attacked by both of them.
That's great. I like that a lot.
Oh man, see, this is why we watch filler, because it makes us ask the important questions.
Absolutely.
Okay. Another thing, this would be dumb. Like, people would definitely have mentioned them in the canon if they existed, but you could also give a brother to Roger who is still alive in some way, like a family member that could exposit something specific about Gold Roger or Gold D Roger that would shine some light on mysteries or history or whatever. Looking at the docket for the episode, I actually did have one question that I want to briefly touch upon, although my answer is going to be very boring. Do you think that Movie 9 was improved or in any way changed by the additions that were here?
For the most part, I'm going to say no, and I think the addition of Wapple's brother actually made it a little bit weaker, because ultimately, he didn't do much. He was just sort of there. So I would have rather either had a new villain and just had a movie, or had just Wapple and be like, this is Drum Island again, but with better art.
Yeah. I also, if Franky's there and you've got this chomp chomp fruit user who can eat two things and then combine them together, Franky should see that and be really like, oh, that's really cool, and we missed that opportunity. So yeah, I said I was going to have a boring answer. My answer is a flat no. And that's it. I don't have any other thoughts.
If you were going to add Franky or Brook or Robin to an arc that they weren't a part of, what would you want to add them to?
Oh,
I think it would be cool to have Franky in Alabasta.
We have Alabasta. We have Sky Island. We could have Brook at Water 7 and Ennie's Lobby if we wanted to. Fishman Island. We don't really have any characters that would have any interesting thing there. Add Brook to Reverse Mountain, because that would really change the way that they interact with Crocus and Laboon at that time. Maybe Robin at Little Garden. I would like to see that just because she's an archaeologist and that's like a place that's like trapped in history. She could have some interesting observations there.
Also, she has a connection to giants, so that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. In a way, was that island foreshadowing in some way to Robin? I don't know. There's a YouTuber called Mr. Morge who does a lot of YouTube stuff, or he does a lot of YouTube, who does a lot of One Piece stuff, and his analyses are pretty well thought out, and he actually pointed out ways that, like, certain arcs at one point in the story mirror arcs and later in the story in ways that were actually more in-depth than I would have thought about, like, on a thematic level. But anyways, it wouldn't surprise me if something about Little Garden comes back later and we're like, oh my god, we never noticed, but also I wouldn't be surprised if it didn't, because it was kind of a short stay there.
Absolutely.
Okay. We got one more thing to cover, and then one more bonus question, and then thoughts from the crew. So let's move on to the last thing that we watched, the One Piece Romance Dawn story.
Oh, we haven't even talked about that yet. For some reason, I thought we had. Okay, so...
Do you want us to summarize this?
I just want to be clear.
Yes.
Before One Piece started and was officially released, Oda wrote a one-shot called Romance Dawn, which starred Luffy and some woman and some marines on a single island, I believe. And so I thought this special was that, but also this year they came out with this is the animated version of that manga. So I don't know if this special is actually that one-shot, or if it's just something that was named Romance Dawn. So I'm confused.
Romance Dawn refers to two stories written by Eiichiro Oda before One Piece, but set in a similar world. While a first-year junior high school student, he began sketching out ideas for a pirate-themed manga in a notebook in pencil. Years later, as an assistant to Rurouni Kenshin author Nobuhiro Watsuki, he began refining his ideas into what could become Romance Dawn and later One Piece. All three versions were published in Weekly Shonen Jump magazine, with the final incarnation published exactly 1 year after the first. The author made significant alterations to the premise and plot over the course of the 3 chapters, which are examined in depth below. Version 1 was adapted into an animated retelling called One Piece Romance Dawn Story, while version 2 was adapted as episode 907 of the One Piece anime, which aired on October 20th, 2019.
Oh, there we go.
Yes.
Thank you for clarifying. I was legitimately confused.
Yeah, absolutely. So I believe that I haven't read these, and I don't believe they're available on the Digital Vault. I would love to. I have a prescription membership, whatever it's called.
I have a prescription. My doctor told me that if I don't read One Piece every week, I'll die.
I need more One Piece-itis. Me and Usopp both suffer from it. Oh my god, and Luffy suffers from the gotta get to the final island disease. I have not read it, but I believe that Luffy is, like, the only character that's consistent. Like, I don't think you see Usopp or Sanji or anything like that, and if they do appear, I believe that their designs were drastically different than what they would end up being. I think Garp did exist in at least one of these versions. That's why Garp was initially shown with the mask over his head, because he was drawn the same way. He has the same face.
Oda didn't want you to know, hey, that's Luffy's grandpa, before it was officially revealed. In the real manga, because he was also Luffy's grandpa in the Romance Dawn.
Yeah, exactly.
So with that out of the way, now that we've figured out all of the confusing details, we can go into the succinct summary of this movie. There was an island. There was a girl. The girl liked the island. There was a guy who was going to fight the island. Luffy punched him. The end.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't remember the girl's name. Let's see if I click on this link here to the first whatever. So there's 2 main characters that we have to know about that aren't in the main One Piece series. There's the woman that you mentioned named Silk, who very much looks a bit like Nami, and then there is the Crescent Moon Galley pirate. Basically, this town's like, oh, we're getting attacked by a pirate, and they don't think that they have the strength to fight the pirate. I wonder if that's going to change by the end of this special because of the actions of a certain rubber man. But they know they're going to get attacked by pirates. Luffy actually takes out all of the pirates without knowing that they're enemy pirates because they have food and he's hungry. And then he lands on the island and everyone's like, oh, it's the pirate. And they're like, Galley Law or Galley, Crescent Moon Galley, we've come for you. And Luffy's like, what are you talking about? I'm not that guy. And he befriends this woman named Silk, whose treasure is the town. So when the galley guy shows up, and he's all like, I'm gonna destroy everything, he's like, oh, heck no, and he ends up needing help from this woman, and he shows the strength of his resolve, and they save the day. What is there to say? You know? Like, what else?
It certainly was a special. I liked Silk. I actually like her a little bit more than Nami. Okay. Which I think the only reason the comparison even comes to mind is because they look pretty similar, but she's got the blonde, longer hair. But I don't know. I like the idea of a character whose treasure is the people that raised her, and like she's fighting to defend them. And she's kind of a klutz, which I think is cute.
Yes.
I know a lot of people are annoyed with that as a character trait, but I find it pretty endearing.
Yeah, absolutely. I do really appreciate... So, different people read One Piece for different reasons, right? It has good humor. Some people might like the way that certain characters are drawn. I think that it's a really well-told story with lots of like symbols and themes that interweave in like this really complex tapestry that you don't get from other series. But what is kind of interesting is that you have this idea of what treasure is. You know, Buggy's one of the first people to show up who's obsessed with treasure, and he thinks that it's like gold and whatever. The Great Pirate Era started because of Roger, because he left all of his treasure in that place. But we've also seen that treasure can be different things. Vivi's treasure is her country and that sort of thing. Same with Dalton in the Drum Kingdom. You know, that's his treasure. And Hero Luck is looking for this cure-all that will heal the heart and stuff. So one thing that I do think is an interesting takeaway is the fact that Silk's treasure ends up basically being the town, and the town's treasure ends up being Silk, even though I believe that she was like the daughter of a pirate who like sailed away or something. Even though she has cursed pirate blood in her veins, they still love her.
I actually thought this was really cute. So the pirates come, they destroy the town, they leave, but they've left this baby, and the townsfolk are really despondent because their entire town is destroyed and they have no reason to go on. But then this little tiny baby starts like smiling and laughing, and her smile is so pure that they're like, we have to live for this baby. And so she inspired them to keep going.
Yeah. Her smile, you say. We need to eventually, when we catch up with the anime, if that ever happens, I do think we will take a couple of breaks or a couple of episodes to talk about like theories and like overarching stories. We might even do a little bit of that for episode 100, which is coming up, you know, do a look back on the series. But just keep in mind that smiles are super important. Luffy smiled before he was killed. We know that Shanks responded to the mountain bands being mean to him by laughing. We know that Luffy is constantly just enjoying himself, happy-go-lucky. Bad guys oftentimes use their power to take away other people's happiness, and Luffy generally comes in and returns the happiness. So the smiling child, helping them get better, the fact that it's a new generation, that like the townspeople are generation 4 or whatever, and this baby is from generation 5, and she ends up being able to sort of kind of bridge the gap between these civilians and the pirate world, kind of, because she has the cursed pirate's blood in her veins. To be clear, they never call it cursed pirate's veins. I hate the idea that your blood defines who you are, but One Piece does have some themes of that. And so, she is an interesting character, and you can see a lot of the backbone of the rest of the series. But in terms of a villain who is scary, in terms of really memorable jokes, in terms of fight scenes, this really is just yet another serving of the One Piece pie without some of the other extra ingredients that make it so good. And it's like, yeah, we get it. There's a character who maybe likes pirates or doesn't like pirates, but by the end of the thing, she'll be fighting for her dreams. So that's kind of it.
What would your perfect One Piece special be like? I feel like we've covered this topic before, but we might as well cover it again since it seems like everything we've reviewed this episode didn't really go over well for us.
Just give me a wild, wacky, fantasy, crazy portal opens up and they're in, like, the dream land or something like that. Like, give me one where they're in an alternate reality and they have to try and figure out how to get back to the Thousand Sunny or whatever.
They have ghosts that represent them that they can use to fight, and they face off against a vampire man who's very beautiful and can stop time.
Yeah, and then he is charismatic in one way, and then you meet another charismatic guy that explodes things for some reason.
Perfect, yeah.
Oh my god. Was Kira in One Piece as Mr. 5, the exploding man? Oh my gosh.
Kira would never
together.
pick his nose.
No, he's a dignified man. But what would your perfect special look like?
I think it would be cool to make somebody else the main character for a special. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be like an OC for the special or movie. It could just be one of the other Straw Hats. But one of my least favorite things is watching these movies because you always know that Luffy is going to be the one to end up beating the bad guy. So, like, why do I care what any of the other characters are doing? So give me a movie about Robin seeing a woman through a crowd and she thinks that it's her mom and like she's trying to unravel this mystery of her mom, but also she has her responsibilities to the crew. Or give me a movie about Usopp being sucked into a sniper competition with some rando. You know, like something that explores one of the other Straw Hats in a way that diverges from canon, but can still be meaningful.
Okay. I like that. I do wonder if anything like that were going to happen if they wouldn't want it in the manga itself. So I get it, but I think what you're most likely going to get is just like a random adventure. So just make the random adventure as random as possible. If it's going to mean nothing, you're just going to throw it away, have the Straw Hats get separated, and there's some weird mystery and they have to try to solve it, and have it be an actual interesting mystery, unlike one of the earlier movies where they had to do like a treasure hunt and it was like you had to punch this shell at midnight or something. I don't remember what it was. That wasn't an interesting puzzle because nobody cares.
Man, that was so long ago. We still had a third host on this podcast when we did that special. We were still living in the other place.
Yeah, we were living in one place that is not the place that we're currently living. We only had 3 cats at the time, I'm pretty sure.
Holy crap,
We
there
might
was a
have only
time
had
when we only had 3 cats?
Yeah, it's incredible. I want to move on to another question before this episode wraps up, and I think this one will also be short, but we're at an interesting crossroads right now because you and I have both seen the next arc. If we had a newbie with us, we'd be like, "Do you have any ideas what would happen?" And knowing Curtis, he'd probably be like, "No, I'm not sure," because there really haven't been very many hints. I mean, you'd probably assume Fishman Island, but that's not where the next island is. That's weird. But let's do a really quick, what are we expecting going into this arc? How do you feel about Sabaody Archipelago?
To me, this really feels like the midway mark of their journey.
Okay.
And like, given how many chapters there are and how much more there is to do, I don't know if that's reasonable, but it still feels like everything that happened leading up to this was just a prep for what's going to happen moving forward.
Yeah.
So I would expect some major power-ups in the crew somehow. I would expect any new antagonists that are going to be really relevant to be revealed and to be, kind of front and center. And yeah, I would expect Fishman Island, but like you said, they don't go there right away, so...
Yeah, I'm not saying what would you expect. I'm saying you can say, here's kind of like where this arc ranks. I really love it. I really hate it.
Well, so I don't remember a lot of like the arc itself, but I remember that there are a lot of things that stand out.
Yeah.
I really like the aesthetic for this arc. It's got kind of a fun like theme park vibe, which I dig a lot.
Yeah.
It introduces some really cool characters who I'm super excited to talk about, and they've finally started playing a major role again where we are in current canon.
Yes.
So being able to go back and see their first introduction is exciting to me.
Mm-hmm.
And, I like some of the stuff that Luffy does. So I would rank this arc pretty highly. It's no Davy back fight, but it's up there.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, I gotta be honest, folks. I'm going to try and look at these episodes with a critical eye and kind of notice any kind of like interesting themes or connections or whatever. I hate the beginning part of this arc. It meanders so goddamn long, and it feels like a nothing island. But then some stuff happens, and it gets more interesting.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
This arc introduces the hot grandpa. And he is the hottest grandpa that One Piece has ever given us.
But before you get to hot grandpa, you have to deal with Iron Mask Duval. And you have to deal with swimming around on land and being like, oh, look, it's a Ferris wheel. And oh, it's a shopping center, and we put things in bubbles. I know that I want more interactions between the crew, but there's just something about these episodes that is like nails on a chalkboard in my brain. But when you get to the part where like the actual story kind of starts and you start meeting a bunch of characters and it escalates and there's stakes other than we are on an island, at that point it gets really interesting. And like you said, we basically are at the halfway point. We are, but we aren't. This is like the beginning of the midway point. And if you're a new watcher, you don't know what's going to happen next, just strap in, because this arc is very unexpected in a specific way. But we are going to start hitting a shift here, and we really have kind of started the final leg to the New World, as it's called, the other half of the Grand Line. We went from East Blue, where it's like, okay, you got a guy with an axe for a hand and a weird butler with knives and, who else did we have? We had a hypnotist and we had a clown man and, we had a guy made out of smoke. The most fantastical we got was a shark man and a guy made out of smoke. And then we went to the Grand Line, and now what are we fighting? We're fighting shapeshifters, we're fighting a batsman, we're fighting a mole woman, we're fighting a floaty woman, we're fighting God, we're fighting a shadow man, we're fighting a sandman, we're seeing cyborgs. So even if I didn't know what was happening next, I think it makes sense to wonder if things are going to get crazier. And oh yeah, they're going to get crazier. Much like Luffy when he learned Gear Second. The weirdness is about to evolve by one step.
My favorite punch in the entirety of One Piece is in this arc.
It is among one of the most monumental. A lot of really important things happen, but unfortunately, it's like I can't think of a metaphor. What's like a food where like there's a top layer of bad stuff and then underneath, it's like having to eat a salad of your least favorite vegetables if you don't like vegetables. Or if you don't like fruit, it's a bunch of sticky fruit and you're like, ugh. But then underneath it all, it's buried treasure. That's what this arc is. You have to dig a little bit and then you tink and you go, what is that? Could that be treasure? And then it takes some time to dig it up and then you open it. Like it takes time, but oh man, it goes places. So anyways, Sabaody Archipelago will be the first part of Season 6. Season 6 will be a big one, folks, because I don't want to just keep changing the cold open formats, and I don't want to do, like, take a break too quickly. So once the action ramps up, we're on the roller coaster.
Now, I have not actually talked to you about this off mic, so I apologize if this is out of left field, but I assume we're going to do Sabaody through Fishman Island for Season 6, or are we going to go even further than that?
Well, I wouldn't want to. In case there are any new listeners, we are going to be covering up until the actual halfway point after this.
Okay.
So this arc is like the Act 1, and we're going to get through Act 2 and Act 3 before we officially call an end to Season 6, that sort of thing. But, I really thought that the digging for treasure and woah, it's awesome was going to be an amazing segue into Final Thoughts. But we can't do Final Thoughts because we have to go to Thoughts from the Crew.
We get to go to Thoughts from the Crew. Thank you, crew.
No, we enjoy our crew, and we thank you very much. Catherine, do you want to talk about all the wonderful things about Discord?
Sure. I mean, all right, let me be honest here. I hate Discord. I'm an old lady, and I don't understand it, really. But my good friends are teaching me how to use it, and we now have a Cotwin Discord. And everybody is really nice, and we're having a good time, and we post pictures of our pets. And on Friday nights, we've started watching Precure together. So we sit there and we stream Princess Precure, and everyone rants about how cute Mofarun is. So it's been a great time. If you want an invite to the Discord, feel free to email us or to hit us up on Twitter. We would be happy to have you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not locked behind any, like a Patreon level. I know that some people do that. Maybe we'll eventually do that, have like a specific channel, but no, it's a really chill place to hang out.
And apparently we don't unlock custom emotes until we get so many boosts.
Okay.
So.
Awesome. Okay, so we asked for thoughts from the crew, and we got 2 replies. We got one from Mac that said, unfortunately, I often skip filler, and I haven't seen an episode of Chopper in years. However, she did find some adorable pics of baby reindeer Chopper on her laptop. The Romance Dawn special is pretty fun, different from the original manga version, but worth a watch for those curious. I agree. I will say that one thing about Romance Dawn, I think it's a little flat. I mean, it's kind of interesting to watch, especially if you consider, like, this was written before One Piece became One Piece. But if you're watching it in the canonical timeline after having gotten through fighting a giant engorged Shadow Man, it's not quite as exciting as that. But I will say that it is short and breezy, which is really nice. Better than like a 3-hour thing where it's just like Luffy sitting in a cafe debating what type of meat pie he wants to order. The answer is all of it, Luffy. All of it.
I was just learning how to make meat pies.
Okay. That's interesting. As a side note, Mac loves looking at how character concepts from the original 2 Romance Dawn one-shots and early concept art of characters evolved into the characters we know. It's very interesting stuff. I think it's right around here or so, Oda revealed his concept art for like the original 9 crew members or something like that. And one of them was just like straight up a plant person, if I recall correctly. Like it looked like a Pokemon, like some kind of fairy had brought like a shrub to life and that joined Luffy's crew. And right now, we don't have anyone who's really flower-themed in any way except for Robin with her Hana no Mi, and even that's not really flowers. That's kind of symbolic. So maybe we'll get another crew member who's plants. Maybe Sanji will get buried underground for 3 days and he'll come back like Plant Jesus or something. But at the moment, we don't really have anyone who fits that mark.
Man, that sounds super cool. I'm right there with Mac, though. I've been wanting to collect the color walks because so far we only have one, but the concept art in it is so cool that it's like, oh man, I need to get more of these so I can look at Oda's incredible drawings. And it goes into like what he was thinking or what inspired some of the color spreads that he's done. So they're cool things.
Yeah, no, he's really cool. The other thought that we got from Trey, good buddy of the podcast, was, I don't remember these episodes at all, so I don't have much for you this time. But while I do think Episode of Chopper is an interesting idea, adding in later characters to earlier arcs, I don't think it really did much with them. We basically already talked about this. I think it would be interesting to introduce different characters in settings that they weren't in. What if Vivi had gone up to Sky Island with them? What if Vivi was at Arlon Park? What if Smoker, instead of kind of showing up and wondering what was going on with Crocodile, what if he and a bunch of Marines ended up on Thriller Bark at the same time that Luffy did? But the important thing you have to do is do something with those characters. I can't stress enough how nothing Episode of Chopper was. If you like Chopper, if you like the updated animations, cool, do it. Hiroluck and Kureha remain 2 of the best parent figures in the entire series, but it doesn't have any extra heightened emotions with the new characters, doesn't have any interactions, and the only thing that I remember about the big brother is that Wapol kept calling him, like, brother dude or something, and he would be like, don't call me that.
He was referring to him casually, and his brother wanted him to refer to him formally.
Yeah, that's a really funny gag that's the kind of stuff you expect from Oda and no other mangaka to deliver, right? But anyways, on that slightly depressing note, get ready for Sabayoni!
And I can't remember because it's been so long since we recorded. Did we do like a wrap-up of Thriller Bark last episode where we like, did you like this arc over?
Yeah, cool. Because that was when we actually got off of Thriller Bark. I thought it made sense to put that conversation there.
Cool.
So alright everyone, that has been your doot final thought. Outro goes here.
See you next season, babes.
Thanks for listening. What a great episode of King of the What Now, your One Piece podcast that started from the very beginning and stars these 2 doofuses. If you want to follow us on social media, Twitter is the best place to do that. I am at KOTWN_pod.
And I am at Pirate Ghost Host.
Absolutely, yes. We share all sorts of thoughts on there, some related to the podcast, some related to other things. But you can also reach us through email at kingofthewhatpod@gmail.com, or you can also find us on Patreon. We would love some subscribers or supporters, whatever the technical term is. Patrons. So fancy and grown up. And you can find that at patreon.com/kingofthewhatpod. You can find all sorts of things like bonus episodes, and you get to see the full cold open candidates, not just the ones that make it into the episode. Maybe someday if I learn to draw, I'll put stuff up there. We're always looking for suggestions and feedback. And speaking of which,
please take a moment to rate and review our podcast wherever you get us from. So iTunes, Spotify, Scrivener, that's for writing. But wherever you listen to our podcast, take a moment to leave a review. It helps other people find us. We are so grateful to all of our listeners, and we couldn't do this without you.
Absolutely. Word of mouth is super powerful, so if you have a friend who likes One Piece and they haven't heard of us, just direct them to the latest episode. And if they hate us, they can tell us why. And if there's an actionable item, we'll try to please you. That's how this works. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.